What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 121. My name is Bret, aka Enigma911, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma911 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can join the chat if you're a subscriber over there. We would love to have you in on the conversation. If you can't catch it live, that's a-okay. It is dropping over on YouTube and podcast services and topic by topic, and is put one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, hashtag ad merch store. Get all of your swag over there, t-shirts, cups, backpacks, and more. Rep the brand, support us. It would be greatly appreciated. It wouldn't be a podcast if Artemis wasn't here. And also, obviously, if I wasn't here. We're going solo today. Today, we're going to be talking about some different stuff. Don't worry, no wrestling this week. We're going to be talking about some video games for both of our topics today. Right, Moose? We're going to be talking about video games. So for topic one, we'll get right on into it. I want to talk about a little game that came out recently called Sifu. Now, some of you guys who watch this podcast watch stream as well, so you know I've been playing it over there since launch, and I am having a blast with this game. I can definitely see why some people might not like the game and are kind of turned off to it. Sifu is definitely one of the more challenging games. I know a lot of people, when something's difficult, it's like Bloodborne, it's like Dark Souls. Well, I wouldn't say it's that bad, but I can definitely see some comparisons to those games, along with actually a lot of other games. But I can definitely see why this certain type of game, this roguelite, is pushing people away. And it is a little bit challenging with the fights that you're going to encounter throughout the game. And also the controls, there's it can be simple and it can be complex at the same time. You have a lot of flexibility in what your character is able to do with the different movements. You have your two strikes, but then you can also do certain moves if you do button combinations, or you can throw your opponents, or you have to dodge with a certain button. You have to parry with a certain button. So it can be a lot to think about, especially in a situation that arises where maybe you're fighting 4 to 6 enemies at the same time. And it can get frustrating fast. I can definitely understand that. Personally, I'm having a blast with it, just kind of seeing how the fights or the flow of the fights kind of goes and looks. Now, maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself here. If you don't know what Sifu is a martial arts third-person fighter that is a roguelite. Now, what a roguelite is it's like trial and error. You're going to keep playing that level over and find either more efficient ways to tackle things or secret paths or different routes that you didn't know about before, and it's going to help you progress through the game. So the gimmick, how Sifu is being told is it's a revenge story. And you, as the main character, the martial artist, are trying to avenge your father. And you're going to get revenge on these 5 members of a gang that had killed him. And as you're fighting through the levels, if your character happens to die, instead of it being game over and you restart from there, it will age you. So, for example, if this is your first death, you're age 20. When you come back alive, you'll be age 21, and you will revive right where you are. If you die consecutively, fast enough without lowering this counter, it will go up progressively. So from 1 to 2. So your next death, you would be 23. Then it would be 3, 4, so on and so forth. So depending on how well you do, or what resources you kind of gather to negate this effect, you can age pretty fast, and depending on that, your playthrough or your run will go fast as well. So that's the basic concept of how the gameplay is is working for this game. Now, there's a lot of different other smaller elements and things that you can learn of, obviously, how to make your character more effective in their fights or efficient in your runs. I won't go into all those details, but it's been a lot of fun. Now, circling back to the comparisons to, like, you know, the Demon Souls, the Dark Souls, the Bloodborne, the Sekiro, etc. Difficulty-wise, I don't think it's like that. Once again, I can see the comparisons because there is a lot of dodging and parrying and then attack, similar to those games, those Soulsborne games. And then the one shot, the one opportunity, Mom Spaghetti, resurrection aspect, I can get that as well. Personally, for me, I've never been very successful in my attempts at a Demon Souls, a Bloodborne, a Sekiro. I think Sekiro is the one I made it personally the farthest in, and ironically, I guess is the hardest, so I don't know how that works out. Shout out to the Trophy Room podcast, Mr. Badbit, Joe, who was on a few episodes ago, mentioned that Sekiro is very rhythm-based. So maybe that was something that I just happened to pick on compared to the other ones where I didn't have that flow or I didn't have that skill that necessarily I needed to progress far in those games, whatever it is. But something that I think benefits Sifu that I personally like and allows me not to get frustrated with how the game is going and when I die is the resurrection and aging mechanic. In the Soulsborne style games, Jesus, when you die, you go back to essentially a campfire, a resurrection point, like essentially your last save point. And you will lose all of your resources and you'll pick up your journey back from that point. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are saying, well, okay, that's like a lot of games. You die, you go back to your checkpoint, whatever. So the resources are the big one. In those games, you kill enemies, you get souls. Those souls are a cash value that you can essentially increase your character's strength, their stamina, their vitality, whatever it is. And if you die, you lose it all. It stays with the enemy that has killed you. So your objective, make it back to that enemy, kill them, or at least pick up your resources that maybe are left on the ground, recover those, and then you can go from there. If you happen to die again on your journey to those resources are permanently gone. And now the new stockhold is whatever you built up getting to that point. So Sifu, I think, really, I like it a lot because this aging mechanic. When you die, you resurrect, you're going to resurrect right in the spot that you lost the fight. And your resources, quote unquote, aren't depleted, aren't diminished, whatever. Any experience that you had built up from your fights still is there with you. Your score, which is like how well or efficiently you are doing the level, will stay. And then you also have, obviously your age will go up, but you'll keep those resources and you're starting right where you left off. You don't have to battle through the entire level again back to that point. And I think this makes it more appealing to me and not as frustrating because A, I'm starting right where I am, and it's almost like a trial and error once again of like I get multiple attempts at whatever this room is, whatever this enemy is, this boss, whatever it is, so I can be like, okay, I did this wrong, maybe I should try this. And it's instant satisfaction of like I'm back into the fight. It's not this whole like, okay, analyze what did I do wrong, great, now I could do all of these 10 steps before, then I can worry about the boss, maybe something goes wrong that I didn't plan for leading up to that point, and then I get frustrated, and then I'm not in the best position I can be. Here it's just you're right where you left off and you're right back into the fight. There's no in between, there's no lull, which is great and I appreciate. So I think that's something to me that makes this game more appealing. Now, I mentioned the flow of the fight. This game is animated super well and makes you feel like a badass. It's just like your typical, like, martial arts movies. And yeah, it's just, as you're going through those rooms, fighting those enemies, clearing out the rooms, you feel great when you feel the confidence in knowing what you're doing. And I mentioned this on stream recently. It's weird how these games have that effect. Similar to Hades. I've talked about Hades on the podcast. Hades is another roguelite where you learn in death and you rinse and repeat. You do the game over and over again. And it's weird how these games are able to do, how to make the player feel better about what they're doing. Even though technically not failing, but they are dying. It gives you this confidence boost to be like, oh, okay, I know this room. I can just rush through it, run through it. When the first time the players are running through it, it's like, oh my God, not the worst thing in the world, but like, this is really tough. This is really challenging. I don't know what to do. But later on, after you have that experience, it's almost like a breeze. You can just run through this level, not overthink things, and like clear rooms like that. No problem. And it's interesting just as a player to be like, holy shit, this area was giving me trouble, or this boss was giving me trouble, and I just swept the floor with them. Really crazy. And it's so satisfying as well in a game like this where that difficulty is present, to see that growth and be like, dang, I'm doing well in this game and having fun. But yeah, it's just been a blast to play. Some other games that it kind of pulls elements from, another game that came out recently over this past year, Deathloop. Deathloop, once again, another roguelite, die, reset, keep doing more and more. The way this story plays out, as you go, you're going to kind of gather information about, your enemies, the backstory of your main character, and all those things in death you will retain. You'll retain that information. You'll retain any keys, any passcodes to kind of make your path shorter through death. So as long as you discover it, that path is open to you, which is nice. But then another thing that it kind of pulls from Deathloop, and I'm sure other games, this is just one that is more recent to me that I know about, is your skills. So I mentioned earlier your experience points. You defeat enemies, you get experience points, you can make your character stronger. And every time you die or you visit these totems, you can unlock skills for yourself, different maneuvers that you can use in your fight, whether it's a button combination or it's just a new move entirely available to you, or maybe your weapons are more proficient, or whatever it is. And you can invest that XP into those skills for that run. So until you reach the age of like 70 plus and you're officially die, that's like your last attempt, you have that skill available to you. Something that they do, that they pulled from this other game, is you can permanently unlock these abilities for any run that you attempt. So, for example, if something is worth, this skills can be unlocked with 500 XP. Great. I unlock it for this run. I have it for this run until, once again, I reach the end, age 70, and have to reset. If I choose to, I can keep spending XP into this skill 5 times, and I can then permanently unlock it. Whether I do that all in the same run, or if I just kind of progressively do that over time, once that 5th is cashed in, it is now permanently unlocked and I have it forever. This is nice because obviously it allows you to kind of play with your build. What skills work for me? What skills don't? And you can kind of cater more to your style. And maybe also also give yourself the ability to use that experience later on into something different. Maybe a skill that you haven't tried. Maybe you need to reset your death counter at a totem. You can use it there. It gives you the flexibility with that. And it's really nice to see that implemented in this type of game with the fighting style of, unlocking these and making your character, once again, stronger in death and in this trial and error. Um, so that's really neat. And then along the same lines, it's a very small thing, but this game also kind of pulls from the fighting game genre a little bit with some of their combinations and how the combat happens. Now, with fighting games, I know a lot of people who aren't into fighting games are like, oh, I just mash the buttons and hope for the best. Yes, obviously that strategy can work from time to time, but if you watch high level gameplay, there's usually, it's almost like a chess match or almost like a dance between these two characters that are fighting and playing against each other. And there's moments where you attack and there's moments where you defend. This whole game is gravitating towards that. If you just run in and you're punch, 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 kick, punch, punch, you'll get some success and some results, but ultimately the fight is not going to go your way, at least in a clean fashion. So finding that balance is something that I think this game does really well. And once again, pulls from that genre and makes it a little bit more interesting, at least to me as a fighting game fan, of like, okay, I have to kind of make a strategy going into this fight. I'm going to run in, I'm going to do some moves, and then I got to be defensive, whether it's avoiding, fully moving my character out of the way of strikes, or it's parrying, attempting to block, creating an opening in the enemy, and then I go in myself. And it's fun to do. It's fun to try and figure those things out. Does it work every time? No, of course not. You got to get the timing down, or something happened, whatever. Obviously, multiple enemies, anything can happen. But it's fun and exciting to see. And then even with some of the abilities that you can unlock and skills, they can also be similar to a fighting game, and where it's button combinations. Hit, pause, hit is going to allow you to do this special move. Hitting certain directions and then followed by a button press are going to allow you to do other moves. It's just a lot of fun to, once again, have that flexibility. Like I said, there's a lot of buttons or controls that you have in this game, and I can totally understand that's a little overwhelming. But having the freedom to kind of mix and match how I'm going to tackle a fight, tackle a room, tackle a boss is really exciting. It's not just go in, okay, shooting him in the head. Yes, that works, and yes, that's fun, but having a little bit more creativity with it makes things teeny bit more exciting and more appealing. So yeah, it's been exciting to run through Sifu. Right now, as of recording, of the 5 levels, I'm on level 4. So I've completed 3 levels, on the 4th. And it's once again, it's been a blast. I'm really enjoying the game. It's been interesting running into the bosses of each level and seeing what they bring to the table, their challenges, and their differences in stages. So every boss, at least that I've encountered so far, has had 2 stages to them, and they have slight differences. The boss that I tackled most recently, I would say she is probably the biggest difference between her fighting styles. Her first fighting style is very slow, very methodic, very patient, while the other one is very rapid fire. So it's fun to kind of pick up on the attack patterns of the bosses, but then figure out once again and strategize what is the correct attack sequence. What's the correct attitude I need to take into this fight, and how do I do this successfully? And yeah, it's just been a great time. If you like a little challenge in your games, or if you really like fighting games, or just like an in-your-face brawl or martial arts style, I would highly recommend this game. If you're kind of on the fence with it, because I know difficulty in games, everybody's got their opinion on that. Give it a watch, whether it's me, or somebody else. Watch it and see for yourself. See if you like it. And another thing I would just recommend is, if you do actually try out this game and play it, be patient. I know these types of games can be very frustrating. I streamed Sekiro for a long time and just gave up because I was like, all right, too much is going on. I'm not making any progress. I totally understand that. Be patient with yourself, and just remember, when you fail, when you die, you're actually making progress. It may not seem like it, but you are in every death. In every death, there is growth. Whether it's your character's abilities and you unlocking them, or it's you figuring out and getting more comfortable with the rooms. It will take time. I think, once again, going back to Hades, I think I put, oh boy, over 100 hours into that game, and that's just rinse repeat. Different weapon combinations, different enemies, different speeds, different challenges, whatever. I don't know how much time I've put into Sifu yet. I want to say maybe 8 to 10. But it's fun. It's fun to go back to dive into, to see, oh shit, level 1 is so easy now compared to day 1 with it. So fun, so rewarding. Definitely recommend this game. I know it's only February, but this game is definitely up there for me of like, I'm going to be talking about this next December for a Game of the Year discussion, or at least like, oh shit, you remember Sifu? That was fantastic. That was a great time. It was a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to maybe hop into it again, or just kind of go down memory lane with it and think about it some more. But yeah, Sifu, great game. Really enjoying playing it. If you want to catch it on stream, if you catch this podcast early, just check the schedule over there. I'm sure I'll be playing it once or twice a week until we beat this thing. And maybe even a little bit after. We'll see if we can be a little bit more efficient. Maybe not be super old when we reach some levels. But yeah, it's been a blast.